you know, it's tempting to look at some of the big numbers in the police department, some of the special use areas, and maybe they could be combined with other special use rooms, but we're gonna do that when we get the design team.
And you have a professional designer who knows how to design police buildings. I don't think any of us are qualified to really do that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're not experienced in what minimums and best practices really are.
Yeah, so I think although it looks like there's nothing happening, I think in reality, we're moving forward with getting the design team, the project team pulled together. And I think it's unfortunate. I don't really see that there's that much else that we can be doing at this point.
No, and you know, the project management part may force some of these square footage, you know, as they're working and stuff, it may start forcing us to make decisions on what do we do with this building? Can the library and the police department use 1/1500? You know, what are the decisions we're gonna have to make on these large square footage places that are being requested as placeholders? But I think you're right, we need to get the next people on board.
Especially when we do go to the budget and estimating of, when we get the PM on
Which is
board.
gonna be one of the first things that they do.
Yeah, look at the numbers, look at the square footages.
Can we make one of our requirements is that they are local estimators, not from Boise?
Yeah.
I think that was actually one of the
Yeah.
criteria. We developed a list of criteria
Within
for
50
the
miles.
selection. And I think, you know, we said within 50 miles of Atherton or something like that.
Yeah.
We could talk about the relationship between this building and the library. Right? That's some work we could do, but we really haven't done. I think there are big issues that we wouldn't be addressing, but we could bring up some
Make
ideas
that
that
an
then
agenda
the
item for
committee
next
could.
time,
Yeah, let's do that.
rather than a
Yeah, we
subcommittee.
have spent 0 time talking about this building, except there's a price tag on it, but
Right,
no purpose.
right.
So if
So what's something
We've
that
always
interested you?
talked, you know, in round, you know, ideas that, you know, it could be used as, you know, an adjunct to the library, like maybe even like the entrance to the library or part of the Heritage Museum, you know, part of that, or the multi-purpose room. It's not exactly big enough, really, necessarily. but,
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
For
Good round ideas.
$2.1
Together a
million,
proposal.
it's gonna be, it can be changed to whatever we want, if that's what the real estimate is.
right, and if we connect it with the library, then maybe that fund, those monies would come from the library fund. Or if it's going to be a shared use, a portion, you know, or rather, so.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
May I interject? I know one of the issues, and I think it was actually in Steve's email, to make sure that it was clear, and because Steve as chair has said numerous times, we're going to get into the square footage issues, but we need to do it in design, so we have something to inform our decisions. So just wanted to, since he's not here, I thought I'd just bring up that issue, because he's made sure I was aware of that at every meeting.
Yes, and that, so it'll happen at some, I know, not.
Phil, live long and prosper. I mean, it'll come.
It'll happen. Speaking of Steve, you know, his comments, I told him I'd read his comments, so it's in, you know, I don't think I need to read it, we're not finished with this yet, so this is back to the PM.
I will take that and
Yeah,
incorporate it into the
yeah, I
board.
promised I'd.
Because I thought he
So
made
just
good
don't
points.
build my promise. Okay, so, but, you know, this is a good point. This brings us, I think we've kind of overlooked this subject in the last few meetings, project schedules. You know, I'd really like to get an idea, you know, of where we stand and where, how we're moving forward, what the timing is. Is there some way for him to kind of, okay.
Just keep passing it down. This is a draft. There are 2 pages
Just
each.
2 pages?
And they're not stapled, he
They're not
just
stapled.
ran them off under the desk here.
Okay, this is all,
There are 2 pages each.
okay, is that the same? Where's the second one?
Is it a 2-page?
1, 2, 3.
There are 2 pages.
Together?
Yes.
The other page is very different. You got the second page already, I didn't get my second page.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to use the automatic staple on the copy. But that should be pretty obvious by now.
It's such a complicated thing, it's extra.
I've never used it.
George doesn't need one. No. Okay.
We have an extra.
Pretty button?
I'll have to learn how to use it.
Somebody turn the door.
So side by side. So I'm glad you didn't staple them because, you know,
Because they really have to be, they're
Right.
sequential.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
This, like that.
So, let's see.
Whoa,
November of 16, we're constructing.
It starts, I think the construction starts
Next year,
in August
next year.
next year.
2000.
Oh, brother.
Don't worry about it.
No, 15?
Don't sleep. I'm not, the only one
Yeah,
who doesn't have to
that's
sleep
right.
is me. The rest of you can all sleep.
What? Yeah, I'm not gonna sleep.
What are you burdening on yourself? Let us not sleep too.
No, we're gonna, actually, we're gonna make
Get
it,
the
and
money.
we're gonna be done faster than we
Yeah,
can, so
it's
that's
gonna-
all.
it's gonna be
It's
fun.
gonna be fun.
Yeah.
This is consistent with the schedule that has been reported back to city council
Yeah.
and that HMC has incorporated,
Yeah.
and with the cost estimating, so,
Subject to change.
yeah, obviously. But, and this did envision
No, it's all.
hiring the project manager, and I did call him project manager in here, prior to hiring the architect. I mean, they happen sort of sequentially, fairly quickly, but the project manager would be able to have some input onto the process of the architect's selection and contract.
Environmental's running concurrent.
Right, and the environmental it's already, as you notice, it's already running. RFP should go to council, I believe, in May for the environmental, which means issued and then hopefully back to council for award by June.
How much is the environmental gonna cost?
The estimate, and these numbers are from the cost estimate that the city council has endorsed, was about $200,000. Now, I've talked to the deputy town planner, and she doesn't think it's necessarily gonna be that much. It's all, you know, when we set up an estimate, if we always try and beat those. And you may remember the key issue is the historical building, you know, the part of the library.
Part that's not supposed to fall down.
Well, I think there's some seismic issues with all of these buildings,
Yeah.
the existing ones, and then, and other structural and
Really?
so this estimates getting
By August
into,
20th.
and also the council approval of the EIR about the end of this calendar year. But design would start before then, so that
Yeah.
design would start in August of this year.
Okay,
You've got it going on.
George, I need to maybe have a side meeting with you and you. I need to understand when money's gonna be needed.
That's, yeah,
Okay.
that'd be good to know.
There is,
And how we're gonna be doing that.
right, there is a report going, if I can jump in, there's a report going to city council at the next meeting that moves the next part of the process into budgeting, because we've used the building department funds and the library funds so far, but now that we have a better idea of what the cost is, we've now folded in the general fund costs
Okay, well,
with input from the town attorney as to what part can be funded by the town and at what point that has to stop.
okay,
Yeah, I think
just-
Deedee's talking about big scale.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about a big scale because I don't see us asking for money until September. So you should know that there's nothing to be given for that,
Right. Yeah, we should sit down and chat.
all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gordon, are you looking for comments on?
Certainly, that's the whole purpose of the CCAC is
I
collective
would-
wisdom.
My only comment would be that looks like we're selecting the architect before we've wrapped up the project management process. So this says project manager interviews.
Yeah, it's like,
So the project management RFP is in May. The architect RFP is a month behind in June. The project management interviews are in June. The architect interviews are a month
Right.
behind.
Yeah.
It's a month
But
off.
we want project management input into what the RFP looks
Yeah,
like.
he's not gonna have much input.
Well, see, that was kind
Yeah,
of my
that's
point.
not-
Yeah, right, yeah, that's,
That it's not just, you know, the architect RFP that's going out is going to include their contract. Right.
Typically, it includes a sample contract, which is the same one we use with HMC.
Yeah, but I think the project manager may have some valuable insights as to better ways to structure
Yes.
an architectural agreement, you know, for a couple of $1 million worth of architectural fees.
This certainly can, you know, if, we certainly can have the architect process trail by a larger amount,
Yeah, that's all.
the selection of the project
Yeah,
manager.
we actually have that written into the scopes that you wrote earlier for the project management discussion.
Right.
So we just need to make sure the timeline reflects that same level of input.
Do we really think the selection of the architect will be in August?
Could be
If
September at this point.
taking input from Clive, and if we want more in, you know, professional advice from the project manager, I'd say this probably has, the architect, you know, advertising and selection process would trail by at least a month, and it may be a couple of months.
Okay.
So I'll look at that.
and I assume you can't push up the project management RFP.
So May's your first meeting for
Nice.
that.
That'd be nice.
I can't put it on for this April meeting, the council.
And that's not something we can do with the study session.
No, those are non-action.
So this is the earliest I can get.
We have.
You
It's
have
not-
done
That's not-
some action
it's-
items.
There's no immediate urgency. I
We
mean,
could call a special meeting.
13 days, you know.
You know, the mayor could call a special meeting if we wanted to move this up. Okay?
Certainly could.
Yes.
You
Yes.
certainly could. I just,
Is this event?
And
Gordon's got to write this thing. We have time.
Yeah,
He's got a lot of work going on.
We're gonna wanna look at it. and
Yeah,
you're
I
gonna-
thought I'd have, you know, have another meeting with the
We
project.
gotta have
manager.
realism here.
I know.
Please.
So, no, leave the time.
We got a whole lot of budget stuff going on right now.
It's gonna take time. That's kind of
I'm
important.
gonna kill people.
Did you see how red it turned?
He's gonna kill people.
He's gonna have a heart attack.
You know, just because you're in government, you don't, you know,
So today,
paddle around and paddle around. We
we're
got-
to July.
It's weird.
Let me tell you, this is a chance of a lifetime.
You know. Got it. These will be in the same one.
And you know what I'd like to suggest on this? Can we bring the schedule in every hour?
Yes.
And then just, you know, update it at every point, every month, and then that way, you know, we won't get lost.
Right, right.
So
We need
it's a
to-
working document.
Yes.
Yeah, Rev, so we'll have Rev Z someday, maybe.
I hope not.
And then B,
Double A, double B.
BA, B.
Okay, good. Got that. Any other comments on the schedule? None? Okay, this will be our continued working document. Committee and staff member comments. Anybody want to say anything that hasn't been said already? Anybody?
Who said it?
Question. Just sort of to follow up on Phil's point, did the committee want the library to look at the relationship between the library and this building?
Well, what we're gonna do is put that on the agenda for our next and start throwing out ideas, and then as the ideas float out, then maybe see the necessity of getting a subcommittee.
Yeah.
And I think as far as square footage, I know there's urgency, we're all kind of urgent, but I think that what we've decided was to kind of hold off until it's really urgent.
There's no reason to do something if we don't have to do it today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll be fine.
just in time philosophy.
Okay.
Okay, so having, nobody else, that was it, correct? Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Um,
Second? Oh,
Do it.
opposed? Lost second.
Nice meeting, Rose.
Oh, that's good.
Six oh one.